Hi everyone, I'm Rosemary, and a few years back I did a porch, patio, and deck makeover on our then house after Hurricane Harvey had hit and we had considerable reconstruction. You may have seen it. The compilation has received over 2 million views, and the video still ranks high in this category all these years later. I say then house because we have since moved, downsizing to this older home with lots of character and charm, but very much a fixer-upper in need of updating and repairs. And we have done a lot in the last year or so since moving in. However, with the cost of materials and labor, like everything else going sky high, we're taking a little major renovation pause. But in the meantime, we can still do a little low-cost prettying up with what we have, starting with this porch area, and as promised, I will also have more solar light hacks. As you can see, the porch floor is cracked and multiple repairs have already been done. Ideally, a resurfacing of some sort would be nice. However, there is some major plumbing work which needs to be done here first before anything like that could even be considered. This door and windows would also ideally be changed out for more updated and efficient models. Now, the door on the other side of the porch was already replaced a few months ago, since the door that was there at first didn't close right, then was literally falling out of the wall. Gotta love a fixer-upper. Otherwise, the stonework is in good shape, and we have all these awesome stone shelves to work with too. It's charming features like these that make all the other challenges worth dealing with. Now, since we are restoring, renovating, and upcycling this fixer-upper, it's fitting that we furnish and decorate with restored, renovated, and upcycled furnishings, so most of the items used in this makeover were either acquired secondhand or by repurposing items I already have. I wanted to start with this set of 4 resin wicker chairs I picked up last year at the Restore store for just $80 for the set. The metal parts need repainting, and some of the wicker is broken. I purchased some materials on Amazon to fix that, but since they came with these cushions and pillows that cover any imperfections, I'm not too worried about it. I removed the cushion covers and threw those and the pillows in the wash. To paint the chairs, I took old poster boards that I use for filming and slid them down along the sides of the chairs and laid them also on top of the chairs to cover the wicker. I then used this dark walnut spray paint that I mistakenly bought a little while back thinking it was black, and it's been hanging around, but I thought it would be perfect to use here since if I do get any overspray, it will blend right into that wicker. You can see what a big difference the spray paint made to instantly refresh these chairs. I really like the dark walnut color too. I think it looks more like a custom finish versus the typical black. I had purchased the chairs to go with this fire pit I also purchased last year at an end of season clearance. I thought the set would go nicely centered here under this window. To anchor the space and cover some of the porch floor imperfections, I picked up this plastic weave rug from Amazon. So I centered the rug under the window, then placed the fire pit in the center. Next, I took the freshly painted chairs with the washed cushions and pillows and placed those around the fire pit. Even though we can't use the fire pit on the porch, I thought it would be better to still use the set as furniture for the porch and just move it out when we want to do a fire, which with our on-again, off-again burn bans isn't very often. Plus, this way the set is more protected from the elements. Eventually, I'd like to put a piece of wood here in the middle where the grill is to make more of a tabletop. But in the meantime, I had a fun idea, which brings us to the first solar light hack. When I was at the Restore store, I saw solar lights like these, which kind of do this whole flame torch thing at night. They only had a couple there at the store, so I checked on Amazon and picked up this set of 6 for $4 each with the coupon. I thought it would be fun to make a little faux fire solar light insert for the fire pit, using the lights, some sticks, and a Dollar Tree foam ring. To make, I first painted the ring with some brown chalk paint. Next, I marked 6 spots about 4.5 inches apart. The lights do come with poles and stakes, but I'll only be using the top part of the light. I inserted the bottom of the light into the foam ring where I marked the X to make the hole. I made all 6 holes, then took some caulk. I like this tube from Dollar Tree that I can use without a caulk gun, and I just squeezed a good amount into the hole, then reinserted the lights. Do have a design on the side which enhances the flame effect, so I made sure that design was on the outside when placing. I also tilted the lights slightly inward to better mimic the fire effect. Once all the lights were in, I set it aside for the caulk to set up overnight. The next morning, I just did a little touch-up painting around where the caulk had gotten onto the foam ring. From here, I just arranged and glued the sticks in place to form a campfire. I used both Titebond and hot glue to attach, the Titebond for the permanent hold and hot glue for an immediate hold. And I just kept stacking and gluing the sticks in place until I got the campfire look that I wanted. Once the glue is set, it does form one cohesive piece that you can place in and out of your fire pit or use on a tabletop. Next, just charge in the sun and enjoy the coziness and ambiance of a campfire anytime without the smoke and mess, burn ban or not. And I love the way the colored light reflects off the wood sticks, creating an authentic fire pit glow. The window above the set is our kitchen window, where, along with some kitchen-y decor, we typically grow sprouts and herbs. But now that's going to also act as an almost artwork for the patio set below, we decided to zhuzh it up a bit by putting a plant stand in the center and being a little more intentional about the combination of planters I used. When the porch was acting as temporary storage, as well as a place to hold a bunch of construction materials, it really didn't matter. But now we wanted to be nice and pretty on both sides. The containers on the left, as well as the containers on the right, are all from previous FabTax videos, which I will link in the description if you'd like to check those out. But for the middle section, I decided to make some new ones, and picked up these little plastic containers at Target. They came 2 to a pack and were on sale for $2.12 for the pair. I wanted to upcycle using my favorite spackle paint, which has been a favorite on this channel for years and is made by mixing 1 part chalk paint to 1 part spackle. I like using Dollar Tree brand spackle since it works great and the price is right. For the orange pot, I mixed pumpkin color chalk paint with a little truffle color chalk paint to give more of a terracotta look. And you can see after a couple of coats, the spackle paint gives a great effect, and it also adheres well to the plastic and has a durable finish. Like I mentioned, I've used this paint combo on many projects over the years, but wanted to take it up a notch and impart this shadowy white effect on top. I have been trying to do this with paint, but with no luck, until now, when I figured out it's not paint I should be using, but cornstarch. I just took a little cornstarch and rubbed it into the dried spackle paint finish. To further set the cornstarch, I took some matte spray varnish and lightly dusted the surface with a fine mist of the spray. As for the white containers, I painted those with a combo of spackle mixed with white and plaster colored chalk paint. Now, if you've watched this channel in the past, you know I like to also use various spices to impart different finishes to my projects. And to achieve the yellow-orange tones I'm looking for today, I'm going to be going with curry powder. And I use the same process of just rubbing the spice right into the dried surface of the spackle paint mixture. And then here you can see that the spice does bring out all that texture in the spackle paint, as well as give it nice color variation and give it more of a handcrafted look. And now the window has a more pulled together cohesive look to be enjoyed inside and out. Speaking of windows, I wanted to next take on these windows to the sides of the door. On the inside, these windows have bookcases in front of them. So, since these windows are basically blocked, I thought to do a frosted window film, but then decided to just go ahead and paint on a frosted finish. To do so, I used this Pearl Effect Glaze Medium I picked up, about 1,000 years ago at Michael's on a clearance sale, and thought this would be a great application to finally use it, but a regular glaze medium would have a similar effect. I took a velvet hair scrunchie, bunched it up, and dipped it in some glaze, then pounced it on the cleaned windows like so. Here's after one application, and then here's Nikki doing the second application to get out any spots that were missed. And here is the finished window. As for the door, I decided to give it a refresh by creating a faux wood finish. Instead of going through too much trouble, I decided to just go ahead and kind of use that pukey brownish orange already on the door and do a glaze finish over top. First, I washed and lightly sanded the door, then wiped off any dust. Next, I took some of this latex paint in a chocolate brown and painted the trim around the window grid. Then I took the same chocolate brown paint and mixed it in a 1-to-1 ratio with the glaze medium, plus a little bit of water to thin a little bit. To apply, I used a chip brush from the Dollar Tree and applied the glaze mixture in a dry brush type application. You could pick up one of those wood grain applicators, but I find I get a pretty good finish just from making streaks using a little bit of glazed paint on the chip brush. I painted the wood grain vertically on the sides and in the raised sections here on the lower half of the door. For the cross sections at the top, middle, and bottom, I painted the grain horizontally. Wow, much better. Once that cures, I'll paint it with some matte polyurethane to steel. To purchase a new doorknob, I took advantage of an Amazon warehouse deal. If you're not familiar, you can access by searching for your desired item, then scrolling down to Condition at the bottom of the page and clicking on Used. This will bring up all the items in your category that have been returned. My understanding is that if an item is returned for any reason, it goes to the warehouse. So if, for example, someone didn't like the color or found something else they liked better, a perfectly new item would be put into this category and available for considerable savings. Products fitting that scenario are typically listed as like new, and items with minor scratches or other imperfections get lesser ratings like very good or good, so make sure you view and understand the listing rating before your purchase. To decorate around the entrance, I have more thrift store finds, including this large lantern I picked up at Restore for $10, a brown wicker planter, and a large faux ficus picked up at a local resale store for $5 and $15 respectively. Then another Restore store score, this metal plant stand I got last year for just $5. It did look a lot worse last year when I got it, but nothing a little soap and water and a fresh coat of spray paint couldn't fix. Inside, I have several pieces I've had for years, including my favorite door hanging with a metal bucket and flowers, which I took apart to clean but decided to completely redo. A Zen fountain I bought years ago on a steal, but never really could find a home for it. Then there are 2 table bases that were actually used in the last patio makeover, and I've repurposed those again here. And then this metal plant hanger stand I bought at Aldi years and years ago. And this tray table and stand I don't exactly remember where I got, but it was been out in the back garden all last year, so it looks pretty bad. So it'll be fun to see how we can breathe new life into this one. So I wanted to start at the right of the doorway with that Restore plant stand. The porch slants sharply where I wanted to put it under the window, so I used a piece of wood leveled with some shims to create a more level base. Up top, instead of having multiple flower pots like I did last year, I wanted to have one large container for the entire top. To make a custom planter insert, I used 2 pieces of scrap wood for the length. These were actually part of the packaging that my dishwasher came in, and 2 craft wood slats for the sides. I then took 4 metal braces I picked up at Lowe's and screwed the wood pieces together using the metal braces to form a wood rectangle. For the interior of the planter insert, I'll use the bottom of a heavy-duty trash can liner, cut to size, then stapled into the wood. I then poked drainage holes in the bottom and filled the container with flowers. Another thrift store find is filled with insect-repelling lavender and placed on the bottom shelf. A pot filled with basil, another insect repeller, sits on the step. On the windowsill, a thrifted $1 basket holds garden tools and gloves, and a ceramic picture from Goodwill, which is typically used for watering, holds some fresh cut flowers. Before moving on to the other side of the door, here's a tip regarding fresh flowers and plants. If I'm not growing from seed, I almost always get my plants from the clearance section. These little beauties, among others, were picked up at Walmart for 50 to 75% off. They may need a little water, fertilizing, and/or pruning, and general TLC, but they almost always bounce back to be beautiful, healthy plants. Now for the other side of the door, I wanted to start with this large ficus tree that I picked up at my local resale shop for just $15. I love the look of lighted trees in a patio space, so I picked up some fairy lights since I don't really want to have the heavier wires showing during the day, and strung those around the tree and set the tree in place. Next, I took one of the old table bases and placed that on some wood blocks to add some height. Then topped that with a planter full of red trailing flowers. For even more insect repelling, I added a planter full of chocolate mint to the side of that. Next, I placed the Aldi plant stand / hanger in front, and one of those $7 Boston ferns found a home on that. To complete that lower level, I wanted to add the large lantern I picked up at the Restore store. I got it cleaned up pretty well, but then discovered that the candles did not light up. The solution? Our next solar light hack. If you saw my recent Next Level Solar Lights Hacks video, you know that I like to use ribbed and faceted containers to increase light brightness by increasing the throw of the light as well as creating neat designs. So the fact that the candles didn't work is actually an opportunity to upgrade this lantern with these ribbed glass jars from Hobby Lobby. Dollar Tree does sell similar ones, but they were too large. I did get these solar lights at Dollar Tree and removed the tops and then glued those to the top of the jar. From here, I put the jars in the candle and they were the perfect fit. I replaced the lantern top and placed the lantern in front of the plants, where it was the perfect accent by day, and then, along with the fairy lights on the tree, illuminate the space at night. Not only does the lantern give off amazing light, but the ribbed glass creates beautiful designs on the porch floor. For even more illuminated decoration, these color-changing plant inserts from that Solar Lights Hacks video make a great addition, and if you'd like to see how I made those, as well as the other hacks I'm referring to, I will link that video in the description. But we can't leave the entrance area without a door decoration. This hanging floral bucket has been a fan and personal favorite for years, since I made it 3 years ago, and it's adorned the entrance of both houses, and I was going to just freshen and use again, but decided to go in a completely different direction. I picked up this twig and moss basket on an after Easter clearance several years ago, and it's been hanging around ever since. I decided to make it into a flat version suitable for creating a door hanging. To do so, I removed the cardboard bottom and cut the wire crossbars with wire cutters. Then I just squished the basket down to flatten. To close off the bottom, I just got some sticks from my yard and hot glued onto the basket. I then added some floral foam and arranged hydrangea, rose, lamb's ear, and other stems to create a more casual, lighthearted arrangement that's a better fit for this house. And now for the area between the entrance and the fire pit. I thought it would be nice to put some type of storage/serving piece here, and had an almost perfect solution in this secretary desk, retrofitted with cabinet doors that I had in the last house in the kitchen, but couldn't find a home for it here until now. I thought the fold-down top would be perfect for adding serving space when needed, and the retrofitted shelves would provide nice storage. I say almost perfect because despite the great functionality and it being the perfect size for the space, the dark color and the more formal look made it a little too heavy for the space. To solve that, I decided to give the cabinet a quick and easy makeover with some of these bamboo placemats. To freshen the doors, I simply removed from the cabinet, then glued the placemats to each door front using Titebond glue, then let the glue set. I wanted to do a similar treatment to the top panel, but would need to cut the placemats first to fit the inset. I measured where I needed to cut, but before cutting, I painted that area of the placemat with some glue so that the threads would be held in place. Otherwise, they would become undone and the bamboo slats just fall out. Once properly cut, I glued the placemat halves to each end of the inset and taped it in place to hold while the glue set. As for the doors, I wanted to give them a finishing touch by adding some Dollar Tree bamboo skewers as trim around the edges, so I cut to size, glued in place, and taped to secure while the glue set. I also did a bamboo skewer trim for the top panel and used a combination of cut pieces of bamboo skewer and placemat slats to create a design to fill the middle portion between the placemat halves. And then here you can see how that quick and easy makeover gave this cabinet a whole new outdoorsy summery look. And it's that area above the cabinet that we have some of those amazing rock shelves, which I thought would be perfect location for my longer burger baskets. I've had the two on the ends for over 30 years now, and that one in the middle I actually picked up at a thrift store just a few months back. Can you believe it? For $2. And I definitely will be doing some faux plants in these. After we did the bathroom renovation, I have this old medicine cabinet, which I knew that I could eventually do something with. Turns out the mirror is the perfect size to fit in the space between the shelves and the cabinet. I disassembled the door from the cabinet by removing the screws, then separated the mirror from the wood frame. I wanted to do the same faux seagrass frame that I did in my recent Pottery Barn inspired upscale coastal video to this frame. However, because of the way the mirror sat in the frame, it wouldn't be possible. So I came up with a plan to wrap the frame in pieces cut from this straw mat instead. I measured the pieces needed and then outlined those measurements in glue on the straw mat. Like before with the placemats, I had to do this in order to get clean cuts and stop the mat from fraying. Once the glue was dry, I could cut out the pieces. Then simply wrap around the frame and glue in place. I only measured and wrapped the straight sides, leaving the angled corners open. To cover these, I took some tiles left over from the bathroom project and glued those to the corners. I attached a rope to the back and then hung it from that bottom shelf. For the top of the cabinet, I wanted to add some gardening and grilling reference books, flanked by the bookends that I made in the Pottery Barn Upscale Coastal video. And in addition to thrift store repurpose, clearance, and DIY items, I also have items found in the attic of this house, including this great little camping lantern. I washed it up, flipped it over, and glued the base to the top to create an adorable rustic lantern vase to hold some faux baby's breath. In addition, I took a recycled jar from a jar candle, painted it with 2 coats of chalk paint, then lightly sanded the embossed surface to create another small decorative container. To finish off my cabinet top decor, I wanted to make a similar light to the filigree lanterns from my Next Level Solar Light Hacks video, this time using a leaf placemat I had on hand, a soda bottle, and of course a solar light. To make, I added some E6000 glue to the back of the placemat, especially around the edges. Then wrapped around the plastic soda bottle and allowed for the glue to dry. Next, I slipped the metal cover off of the solar light and then took it outside to spray it with some copper-colored spray paint. Once dry, I replaced the cover and then glued the solar light to the top of the soda bottle using some E6000 glue. For the reflective surface, I'm going to make use of that seagrass mirror sample from the Pottery Barn video. And now here are those cabinet top decor pieces by day and then by night. And then here's a look at how that whole area came together. On the other side of the window, there's another shelf, which is a perfect place for me to put a clock. I picked up this one at my local resale shop for just a few dollars and thought I could give it a little more character with this wood plate from the thrift store and some ping pong balls from the Dollar Tree. The first thing I did was to paint the exterior of the clock with some black brushed metal craft paint. Next, I placed the ping pong balls on skewers, then painted them with cashew-colored chalk paint. Next, I took a little caramel-colored craft paint, diluted it with a little water, and then used a Dollar Tree chip brush to paint on some wood grain looks. Once the paint was dry, I took the balls and glued them to the sides of the clock. I would have glued them to the plate, but I have to be able to remove the clock to set and change the batteries. Once all the balls were placed, I set it aside for the glue to dry. Once the glue was set, I was able to handle the clock as one piece, and I did reinforce with more glue in the back. To create a removable bond between the clock and the wood plate, I used some double-sided removable mounting tape. To accompany the clock on the shelf, I'll also be using this green ceramic topiary sculpture I bought years ago for 90% off at Hobby Lobby, and here is the reason it was so cheap. But don't pass up these types of items when you see them at a store. This piece sat for years on a bookshelf in my old house with the broken part to the back, and no one was the wiser. Since I'll be using it outside, I do now want to cover it with some duct tape so no little critters decide to make it a home. And now here is the duo together on the shelf. As for that corner shelf and area, well, I have some big plans for that. I'm going to start by placing one of the Boston ferns that I picked up on clearance at Walmart on that corner shelf. But before I continue, I'm going to need to clean and refresh some of these older items that I have. Once painted, I'll place the Coca-Cola crate upside down in that corner, and I'll also be using this large tile that I had from construction. I'll place the tile on top of the crate, and then the freshly painted table base on top of that. As for that badly damaged tray top to the table, I'm going to go ahead and flip that over, then spray it with some of this hammered copper spray paint. Once dry, I'll place that back on top of the table base. Then I'll place the Zen fountain on top of that. To either side of that, I placed 2 of the Dollar Tree solar step lights, which is a great solar light hack for creating elegant uplighting at night. The second freshly painted table base goes in front of that, and the thrifted wicker basket with a flowering plant goes on top. Next, I placed wood crates to act as plant stands to either side, then placed potted plants to the top and in front of those. And then here's that corner section by night. And then the full porch patio by day. And then here is the whole space all lit up at night. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this extreme porch patio budget makeover, and if you did, please leave a like and a comment, and check out the description or click here to see some of the other videos referenced earlier. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.